Hi everyone, this is Niharika from YLCC. YLCC, that is Your Legal Career Coach, is a mentorship platform for law students. On our YouTube channel, we put up interesting conversations with students and industry professionals. Welcome to today's special interview session. Today, we are very honored to have with us Ms. Atmaja Tripathy, an Indian qualified lawyer with extensive experience in dispute resolution. She has pursued her LLM from the very prestigious University of Cambridge and was a recipient of the Cambridge Trust Scholarship as well as the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. She has worked as a senior associate at TMT Law Practice before pursuing her master's, and her achievements also include being a finalist at the Rising Star of the Year 2023 ALB Women in Law, India and Middle East. Ma'am has been a scholarship holder even during her graduation in law from Symbiosis School of Law. We are very thrilled to have her here to share her insights and experiences. Welcome, ma'am. It's a great pleasure to have you on board today.
Thank you, Niharika and YLCC for having me here today. Just before we get into the conversation and you start shooting questions at me, it's important to have these sort of mentoring or just conversational interviews with people who have gone through a certain route, because as an applicant, when I look back, those are the people who helped me to shape the way I, approached my application, scholarship application. So yeah, that I hope the listeners, viewers benefit from this conversation that we'll have.
I am most certainly will. We're here to talk about primarily about the guidance on scholarships and also to get some guidance from your educational and professional background as well. So let us start by delving right into the questions. Could you share your career trajectory up to this point and explain what motivated each step you took after graduation? So here we are interested in understanding whether your decisions were a part of a planned path or did it just organically happen over time?
That's an interesting question, but as a dispute resolution lawyer, I don't think it was always in my mind right from the first year of law school that I wanted to be dispute resolution lawyer. One thing I was certain of was I don't want to be a transactional lawyer. And without having anything to comment on transaction side of it, it's a personal preference. I am somebody who liked to research, read, and sort of be able to express logical arguments, which was very reflective in the way I led my law school life. I was active in mooting, researching, and I think people would, my peers from law school considered me as a type nerd. But besides the study, like the curriculum, I used to do other things such as my hobbies, which I pursued. But for me, the career trajectory as a dispute resolution lawyer actually dawned on me in my final, if I may practically put it, like eighth semester to 10th semester. I wanted to be a competition lawyer, like just specialize in competition law for the major part of my sixth to eighth or fifth to eighth semester. That was also because even before joining law, I was interested in economics. So when I started studying law, I was very grounded and rooted to things which have any sort of link with economics, may it be just competition law or any sort of economic implications, stuff like that. And that's why I was very determined on becoming a competition lawyer. I remember I did an internship with a very niche competition firm in New Delhi for a month. And that's where one of the mentors was like, if you're starting your career, please do not start as a specialist, because then you get holed up, which was from their experience. And after 1 month of very rigorous internship, I remember that internship, I probably out of 31 days, I must have had 2 days off, like on the Sundays, and there would be work on Sundays as well. That's when I realized that, oh, this is an area of law which is just focused on few provisions, section 3, 4, and then you have mergers. So and I also did simultaneously, like I had done a couple of internships with senior counsels and dispute resolution practice areas. So I was like, okay, I'll stick to dispute resolution, comes close to the field that I am interested in. My areas of interest besides competition law has been just about any sort of constitutional implications, understanding about technology laws, and its impact on markets, digital markets, or sort of impact on human rights, the intersection of private law and human rights. So that's where I was like, I will choose dispute resolution because it gives me a very broad palette the way I want to paint the picture. And I was recruited by one of the Delhi firms for the dispute resolution team. And it happened so that I was put in a team with a partner who focused and specialized in dispute resolution, but a major focus was on broadcasting, media, technology, intellectual property laws. So I think just married well in terms of what I wanted and how things panned out. So to answer your question in short, whether it was planned completely, I would say partially planned, but I know people who were very determined from their first year that they want to be a dispute resolution lawyer. For me, it was not that. I knew what I don't want to be. And from there, it went in a way where I just tailored to my, interest. And that's how it ended up being a dispute resolution lawyer.
That was a great story. Yes. Now moving on to the master's journey, is there any ideal time, as you would say, for pursuing an LLM? And what motivated you to pursue an LLM after working for 5 years and being a senior associate at a firm? Why not wait for partnership and go for a master's?
To first answer your question, I don't think there's any ideal time for doing a master's. But if you personally ask me, I would recommend people, and in fact I made the most of my master's experience because I had work experience. So it always, like, the lens through which you see things changes when you are a professional and you approach education after that. So for me, I wanted to do my master's ideally. If you ask me ideal time, I wanted to do 2 years after my graduation, which would have been around 2020. But that's when COVID hit. So I was not convinced that that would have been the right time to go for a master's. And that's why I delayed it. And I delayed it to a point where I was like, okay, 4 years is a good amount of time. I don't want to be very senior in the profession and then go for my master's, because it is a break that I'm taking for a year. And also, I think a reason why I chose to do my master's is because I wanted to do it earlier. I couldn't do because of unforeseen events which happened. So I was like, I should do it now as opposed to later, because then it doesn't really like make a lot of value addition in terms of masters. It would just be a degree that I would have. Having said that, why now and not after becoming a partner? Because I think a lot of the scholarships, which is a major part of the conversation, would have age bracket. You have to be under 30 or something like that. So you miss out on a lot of scholarship opportunities if you wait for too long. And master's programs, as we know, are kind of steep in your pocket, especially if you're looking at masters in the United States or the United Kingdom. So it's good to have a scholarship where you're not spending your own money or taking a heavy loan and going for a master's program. Yeah, so that's about it. And for me, because I have worked for 5 years, in fact, before applying for my master's, a lot of my mentors also told me, like, which in the hindsight, and now that I have completed my master's, I completely agree with. Master's program is not something where they hone you as a lawyer, or they teach you which you would expect in an undergrad university. And having worked as a professional personally, it's not adding to your knowledge base, or how you approach as a lawyer, how you approach things as a lawyer. It doesn't really like shape you as a lawyer just because of the coursework, but there are a lot of other factors. The entire experience as a master's student in an international educational institution, that really shapes one as a person and not just a professional. And I think that's the biggest takeaway for me from my master's course, because beyond the fact that I have worked for 5 years and I know how to maybe read a statute or how to interpret the law, how to do my research work, Master's course doesn't teach you anything beyond that. It just gives you a lot of access to resources, the best of the resources in terms of the kind of people you meet, the international network that you build. And for me, that was a major reason why I chose to do my master's. Meeting international pool of lawyers, just being at this historic institution which has a legacy of over 800 years now. Yeah, that's why I chose to do my master's now.
Age bracket and scholarship is indeed a very smart reason to choose masters. So, why did you choose Cambridge to pursue your masters, and how was your experience at the University of Cambridge? How different was it from the Indian education experience, so to say?
So for first thing, first, when anyone's doing masters, and I don't want this conversation just to be limiting to law students, while I think your major crowd would be lawyers, students who are interested to pursue masters. But for any master's program, the first checklist that you draw is what's the course that you want to pursue, what sort of, then you see which universities are ranked well for those courses, and that's how you go about it. And then you see what specialization courses are offered, who are the faculty members. That's how you generally go about your research. And I wanted to take up courses which focused on technology laws and just the intersection, because that's been my active and latent area of interest. Just seeing how technology affects digital markets, your private law, human rights sort of interaction, IP, because that's a growing, tech is a growing field of law, and there's a lot happening in the area. While my dispute resolution practice was kind of related to technology, but I don't think we have niche technology practice area in terms of dispute resolution. Like, you won't find niche litigation a lot happening in India. You would find a lot in EU and the United States, where you have the big giants like the likes of Google or Facebook being sued for whatever data protection violation or antitrust concerns. So this is the way I looked at my master's program, and I researched on the institutes that I would like to go to, purely for the reason that the jurisdiction is supportive of technology growth, or is amenable to how technology is shaping the world, and is advanced in terms of how the legal jurisdiction or the legal spectrum has shaped, and how it is being shaped by technology. So that left me with the option of EU, primarily UK to a certain extent, not a great extent, and the United States. And so there were a few universities which were like topping the charts. For example, Stanford has a tailored specialized course in science and technology. Similarly, I believe Harvard also they have Berkeley Institute for Internet and Society on those lines. Cambridge has a club, not a club, it's sort of, how do I call it? It's not a club, it's not a society, but it's one of those faculty run bodies which is focusing on intellectual property. It's called CIPL. So they had one on IP and internet. Then the options that I had was Edinburgh University had good technology law course. London School of Economics also had good technology law course. And besides, like UK and US, EU in Europe, Netherlands had a few universities such as Leiden, University of Amsterdam, and Tilburg University, which offered good technology law courses. So primarily these were the institutes I was looking at. So I had, my long list was for about 8 to 9 universities. But then once I started making my applications, the task was getting really hard to finish. So I was like, okay, I'm going to apply to, I think I ended up applying to 5 or 6 universities at the end, 2 in UK, 1 in Netherlands, and maybe 3 in the States. Reason why I came to Cambridge is because it was absolutely a no-brainer reason for me. I was getting a full scholarship. I didn't have to spend any money on my education, and I don't think Cambridge would have worked out for me without a full scholarship, or a partial scholarship, because the expenditure, while UK is almost half the rate that you would spend in the United States to pursue a master's, but it's still steep, especially when you're a dispute resolution lawyer who's worked at a mid-tier firm. You know, I would not deny that dispute resolution still doesn't pay well, as would be the corporate counterparts in other firms. So for me, it was very certain that if I'm getting a scholarship somewhere in any of these universities that I'd like to go to, I would make that call. If I didn't go to Cambridge, I would have probably gone to Leiden, which was cheaper than sponsoring your own education in the UK. So that would have, it was a pure cost benefit analysis for me. And I mean, I would say that I was fortunate that I had a full scholarship, because yeah, Cambridge is definitely a dream that not many live up to. And I've been really like fortunate because I got a full grant from the Commonwealth Scholarship and Cambridge Trust. So that's how I chose Cambridge.
So ma'am, could you tell us some of the key factors to consider when applying for a competitive scholarship for a master's program?
So I don't think there is a one set formula for the scholarships. Each of the scholarships have different set of requirements. When I applied for a master's, I would have considered, you would have university scholarships that the university funds. You have separate independent scholarship bodies, like in India, you have INLACS, or you have Narottam Shakespeare, and then you have, I think, Tata and few others have their independent scholarship. So each scholarship has a different set of requirement. Similarly, for Cambridge, they have a general pool of scholarship that falls under Cambridge Trust. Then you have a separate application process for Commonwealth Scholarship. And Commonwealth scholarships again have two sets, masters different and shared scholars different. And then you also have Chevening scholarships. Having said that, of course, each of the criteria, you have to see what the scholarship form requires. But the overarching structure of most of these scholarships is you need to have a reason why you are the person they should consider this as a scholar. Some of the scholarships could be need based, where you have to show your financial disability to join an institute, and how your caliber, despite being really high of the potential which requires to be in an institute, would not fructify but for a scholarship. But the merit based scholarships, I believe, are more challenging, because you need to show why you and not XYZ. And for that, it's very important to have a tailored sort of story, where it reflects your passion, your vision for what you want to do, and why you. So that's broadly, it's pretty much like a statement of purpose that you make for your master's application, but you have to focus on what the scholarship goals are. Like, I'll just give you an illustration. Commonwealth scholarships hinge majorly on the fact whether you have leadership potentials, and whether you have goals to meet some sustainable development goals, because that's the sort of base threshold that they want their scholars to have. They want to create future leaders who would contribute to the society, and who have the vision of sort of transforming some sustainable development goal. As for my case, my way or approach to meet these basic requirements was, I'm a lawyer, and I come from a profession which has a lot of potentials to give back in terms of bridging access to justice. So you have a specific sustainable development goal called peace, justice, and institutions. So that is where I was sort of relying on, and that was the goal that I was trying to target when I made my application. And my application was all about how I want to pursue my master's, because that will give me an exposure to understand how technology affects different aspects of life, law, justice, institutions, and how we can bridge the gap, how lawyers as professionals can come in and sort of handhold technology entrepreneurs or people who are developing technology, and use it to better the cause of justice or improve access to justice. So that's what my application focused on. Similarly, if you look at Chevening, they have a different set of requirements. They want to, some of the scholarships want to know from you what your 3-year goals are, aspirations are, 5-year, 10 years, how the scholarship will help you improve in your career. Because some of the scholarships want you to be studying for a year and going back to your home country. So you need to really focus on building a case which is convincing as to why this scholarship is what will help you achieve your final goal in life. That's about it. Other than that, there are scholarships which require you, of course, the basics, your education, your extracurriculars, all of that needs to be reflected. But broad point is that you need to have a convincing storyline why you are eligible for the scholarship.
Right. So we talked briefly about your scholarships. Could you also tell us about the application process for the same, and what were the criteria of application for the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship and the Cambridge Trust Scholarship?
I think I just covered some bit of it briefly. As for Cambridge Trust and Commonwealth, so I'll first answer the Cambridge Trust bit. The scholarship for Cambridge Trust is essentially a pool of every funding which is open to Cambridge University to scatter amongst the master students. So how it happens is when you have your master's application to Cambridge, the Cambridge Trust application goes hand in hand on the same portal. So you just have to like agree or put a tick mark that you want to be considered for the Cambridge Trust Scholarship. And under that, whatever pool scholarship is available, the trust will see, and they probably send, my understanding is they send your applications to the different funders who are there, and they see and they select you for interviews. For example, under the Cambridge Trust, I was also offered an interview for another scholarship, which is the Justice Pratibha M. Singh Scholarship. But because I had a full scholarship by then, so I didn't opt for that. But I went I went to meet the funders just as a courtesy and wanted to interact with them. But yes, what I'm trying to say is that the Cambridge Trust scholarship application is very simple, doesn't require you to write a lot. It's about 200 words you have to write why you want to be considered in the scholarship pool. Because it's 200 words, applicants need to be very careful not to write unnecessary fluff and just be able to build their story in those 200 words. As for Commonwealth Scholarship, it's completely different set of application. In fact, Commonwealth Scholarship applications happen a lot in advance than your actual UK university application. And Commonwealth application, not just for Cambridge, you have all the UK universities. If they have a tie-up with the Commonwealth funding organization like the FCDO, which is Foreign Commonwealth Development Organization, then you can apply to more than one university. As far as I remember, Commonwealth applications happened in October, and so does Chevening, which is again for UK, but your actual master's applications are in December. So students need to be very careful about the timelines, and the application criteria for Commonwealth is very focused on sustainable development goals, how you have actually contributed or worked on those lines. It can't be a story in the air. It has to be something which is which is reflecting in your career trajectory till now and how you are shaping it in the future, because they want to create leaders, and that's a major part of the whole scholarship. So the criteria is, they consider your SDG goals, they see what your 3-year plan is, 5-year plan is, 10-year plan is, how you want to contribute to the Commonwealth community, how the masters is going to help you become a leader in the future. That is the sort of approach Commonwealth takes. And for me, if I see all the scholarship applications I've had, Commonwealth has a very different set of criteria, which is very leadership oriented criteria, as opposed to all other scholarships, which are probably more merit based in terms of like CV based criteria.
Right. Could you give us any tips for students preparing for the scholarship interviews, as you mentioned?
I have not really sat for many interviews. The only interview I sat for was when I was shortlisted for Chevening. Commonwealth Scholarship does not have an interview round. It just has application, and then they select you on the basis of your application. I also, yeah, I didn't have to go for interviews, even though I was shortlisted because I had a full scholarship by then. But from my experience of just the Chevening scholarship interview, I can tell that uh, basic questions are always applicable across the board. First, what you have written in your SOP, why this particular institute, why, for example, in my case, why Cambridge, why should you be a Chevening scholar, or why should you be a Commonwealth scholar or XYZ scholar, INLAC scholar. That's obviously like a story running across all scholarship interviews. Then some of them may ask you about why UK, why a particular country, why the United States. I think that's a line of question which people may ask. But overall, the one tip I would give to all interviewers is stay calm, be honest with your responses. Do not make up stories just to impress. Because I think it's you can make stories to impress, but through the round of questions, I think it's just a house not built on a base which can stand to extreme grilling, and then that's going to fall apart. So all you have to do is just, why you want to go, why the scholarship is important to you. Some people may just not have the means, and they have a lot of vision for what they want to do as a master student or after coming back to wherever they are from. So in terms of that, yes, just stick to your storyline, be polite, casual, and just consider like we are conversing now. Keep that approach, because I know while it's very daunting to sit in any interview, especially scholarship interview, because the stakes are high for the applicant, it is very important to keep a very casual conversational approach, because then it lifts off the pressure and helps you communicate better. And I think that's half the game done for you, and then most of it is just chit chat. And some people also ask very tailored question on, if it's like, for example, if it's an IP based scholarship, intellectual property law scholarship, then of course you need to know some basics of why you should be the one being conferred on with the IP scholarship. You need to show what work you've done and what you want to study, things like that. So essentially it's a mix of professional and personal goals that you want to achieve, and you need to just weave that story better in person when you are sitting for the interview.
So if in short you could answer, how can law students develop a strong personal statement that can effectively convey their passion for the scholarship?
It's a very personal, as the name suggests, it's a personal statement. I don't think, I mean, I would probably be repeating, as you would have seen in many of the videos that you would see, and even like people I have come across when I was applying, nobody can give you a tip for your personal statement. How to make it stand out is by making a story of your personal statement. I think that's a very good approach. Like, make a story, like your background, how you chose law, or if there was something startling which happened, which really influenced you, which really brought in sort of an urge in you that, okay, I want to pursue law. Whatever it is that took you to studying law or a particular area of law, or you have seen certain things, whatever, like any, it could be, there are different approaches to write a personal statement. You could make a instance based personal statement, like, okay, in so and so time I did this, or I saw this and it sort of encouraged me a lot. That can be one approach. Another approach can be that if you have a family of lawyers, whatever your influence was, dining table conversation. So it's very personal. And I think the key is to set out that blazing element which keeps the fire on in your mind, and that needs to be communicated, because people like to read about your experiences. Nobody wants to know that, oh, I mean, of course people want to know how good you are in your career, your grades and stuff, but in personal statement, I think the important matter is to show something which is more important to you as a matter and your passion point, more than just showing how you are excelling in like law school or with mooting and stuff. So and then just weaving it with where you have reached, how you have come there, and where you want to go, and how this scholarship or how this masters or how this university is going to offer a platform to help you achieve your dreams.
Right. Are there any common misconceptions about the scholarships and pursuing higher education at an international acclaimed legal legacy institute, which you would like to dispel for our audience?
Oh, yes. um I don't know, this is something I would want to know first before I say what do you think it is to study in, sorry, it was not supposed to be me asking you a question, but I will ask, how do you
Right.
perceive studying at a university which is like 1,000 years old? What do you think an education environment or sort of setup at a Cambridge or Oxford or Harvard be like? What's your imagination or
So
concept?
for me, it would be the people. It would just be the environment around and the people. So I think that would have a huge, huge impact on the quality of education. It's not only going to be the professors that are teaching me right now, but also the legacy that the institute carries. So that, according to me, also if I have a scholarship, then I would be on cloud nine.
Okay, I don't think there's any misconception in what you said, and in fact, which is the right way to look at it. And pretty much for me, um, I would, how do I put it? Like, misconception is very personal. I don't think I had any. I mean, there were some ideas I had, but what you said is exactly how it is. I think it's very important that when you come to an international platform, and even for me, it was not to come and study more and learn something that I haven't learned. That was not the expectation to begin with. The idea was to meet lawyers from different backgrounds, different countries, and not just lawyers. When you come to institutes such as universities such as Oxford, Cambridge, you live in a collegiate system. So I've met people from subject areas that I had not even heard of. People doing some remote aspect of like astrophysics, archaeology, theology, and stuff like very, very there are people who are focusing just on studies on Antarctic studies. That's a whole department faculty which is there. So just being in that sort of place where there are people from different facets and different faculties, it's very, very engaging. It is absolutely an experience unthinkable, unthought of. I wouldn't have thought back in India, oh, I would be sitting with people who are researching on cancer biology, who are researching on like meteoroids, who are researching on Icelandic geography, and I researching on like law, and then we all are exchanging ideas, thoughts over a cup of coffee or like evening drink or something. So that is the high point of doing a master's at an international institute. And I'll just go back to the point, therefore it's important that people have some work experience and come for masters, because then you can engage better when you are in speaking with people, as opposed to just be parrot learning and then reading books and going. And I think your approach to masters changes when you are a professional, and as opposed to when you're coming right afresh from undergrad, because then you're still in the mindset of that, oh, I need to study a lot, and then you don't make a holistic experience. Because when you are coming to a new country, you have new place to see, you have a new weather or a sort of place to adjust, you have new set of people to meet, the opportunities and the options are infinite. So to make the most of it, it's best when you have this sort of approach where you are coming to network and build a strong connection with people. Misconception, one thing personally which I felt was, I thought like universities such as Cambridge or Oxford would be like the education system would be, a lot of people think that it would be a lot higher than what you would get in any undergrad Indian university. The education system is very different. The course structure is very demanding. The professors here are excellent with their research work, but in master's program, it does not necessarily have to translate in classroom teaching, because at least for Cambridge, it used to be that we would have modules, one module dedicated to one class for 2 hours. I remember in undergrad school, if that module was not finished in that class, then it would just run over in the next class. That doesn't happen here. Module is not over, module will not be taught anymore. It is your thing to do. You have to read it. So that's how it is. It's so faculty members really expect students to be very hands-on. And my honest experience is some of the faculty members are very excellent. Like, it's basically like they pick some thoughts from your brain and they just open the knowledge box, like coax you to think, and then everything is on your own, because you have to do a lot of reading. Like every week's module would require you to read 500 to 700 odd pages, and then you need to have that sort of vigor to read a lot and bring out innovative points to discuss in the class. The education system is very different. It requires students to be more hands-on. It's more like a collaborative thing, where students have to do probably more than what faculty members need to do for a lesson, because they've been researching in these fields for 25, 30 odd years. But you are just coming to a new jurisdiction, learning a new area of law, at least when you're not from the UK or not from the place where you're doing your master's in. And therefore, the misconception can lie in the fact that teachers are going to teach you stuff or something like that, which is not the case. In fact, you need to be learning enough to come and contribute in the class. And that's the best part also about coming to an institute such as a Cambridge or any of the big institutes, because it pushes you to work really hard in a very short time span.
Right. Lastly, ma'am, what tips would you offer to prospective applicants?
I think I've just given a lot of tips already. What tips would I offer? First, I would definitely recommend people doing a master's or having something similar. Could be a 6-month diploma course or something like that. Even though I have been told by a lot of people, why are you doing masters? It is not going to be like a lot of addition, which I agree with. But for the only reason I would highly recommend doing a master's is you grow as a person. It's not just about growing as a professional. It teaches you a lot as a person when you are away from your comfort zone. But if the tip I would again give is, masters is a very expensive program. If you have expectations that you'll be taught a certain way, no, that's not going to happen. So please, try getting a scholarship, try getting a sort of avenue which is funding your masters. Then that's the best of all worlds that you can have, because you're not bleeding your money, and then you are enjoying this whole experience of a very holistic, lifelong learning experience in just a short span of time. And yes, overall, if you're applying, be true and honest in your application. Don't just create fluff because you think that's going to impress application reviewers, because that will not. Be honest and make a nice story. Reread. I cannot underemphasize the importance of reviewing your own application again and again, because every time you review, then you keep making changes, and that's how you make a better application.
Right. So we come to the end of the session. Thank you for being here and sharing your insights with us and telling us all we needed to know about the scholarships and more. It was an extremely enriching experience to witness your thoughts. On behalf of ILCC, I thank you once again for sparing out time from your schedule for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Niharika, for having me here. It was a pleasure speaking with you. And all the best to you and YLCC and all the applicants who are going to watch this
Thank you.
conversation. Thank you. Bye-bye.